There's a pattern emerging beneath the comments on our recent videos, one that's impossible to ignore. Again and again, the same voices appear. People who describe themselves as deeply empathetic, highly sensitive, and strangely, these are the very people who seem to attract the most psychological damage from a specific type of person. You describe partners who twist reality so subtly that you begin doubting your own memory. Friends who store your vulnerabilities like ammunition and fire them the moment conflict arises. Family members who push you until you finally break, then calmly point at you and say, "See, you're the unstable one." And the question you keep asking is always the same. Why do they do this? Most people answer with vague labels: toxic, manipulative, difficult. But psychology has a far more precise name for what you're dealing with. Researchers call it the dark tetrad of personality. And today, we're going to expose what is actually happening inside their mindset. Why your empathy makes you visible to them. The most dangerous assumption you make: you assume they are wired like you. You assume that if you explain your pain clearly enough, if you love deeply enough. But psychology shows something unsettling. Their emotional hardware is fundamentally different from yours. The dark tetrad. 4 traits when predator pattern psychologists have identified for overlapping personality traits that form the dark tetrad. 1. Narcissism. These individuals are frequently charming, expressive, and socially magnetic. They draw attention effortlessly. Beneath it is a fragile, defensive structure that requires constant validation to survive. The moment admiration stops, the moment you criticize them, the mask collapses. And that rage exists to punish you for threatening their false self. 2. Machiavellianism. They plan. You are not a person to them, you are a position. They will lie without hesitation if it serves their long-term goal. They feel their discomfort manipulating trust, because, to them, morality is not real, it's a tool other people use. 3. Psychopathy. Neuroscience shows that their amygdala, the brain's fear center, barely activates. They don't feel the internal brakes that stop most people from causing harm. They chase stimulation, risk, and dominance, because their nervous system requires extreme input just to feel alive. 4. Everyday sadism. Sadism explains cruelty that has no strategic purpose. The mockery. Brain scans show that witnessing pain activates dopamine, the pleasure chemical. They hurt you because it feels good. This is one of the hardest truths for empathetic people to accept. Some of these traits are not trauma responses. Twin studies suggest that up to 70% of psychopathic traits are heritable. These individuals are often born with underactive fear circuitry. They didn't learn to be fearless. Machiavellianism, however, is often learned, shaped by cold, unpredictable environments where trust was dangerous and manipulation meant survival. Together, genetics and environment create a personality structure that is highly resistant to change. The switch you can't see if they lack empathy. How do they know exactly how to hurt me? How can they be cruel one moment and charming the next? Because empathy has 2 forms. The ability to understand what someone else feels. Manipulative personalities often score extremely high in cognitive empathy. They read you effortlessly. They sense emotional shifts before you do. Take know you, rein pain, but they don't feel it. Brain imaging shows they can voluntarily turn empathy on and off. During love bombing, they mirror you perfectly. Once you're attached, the switch flips off. Why they chose you? They were looking for a target. High empathy. If you struggle to assert your needs, what psychologists call egoism, you are the perfect match. They test you early. If you apologize for their mistake, they use intermittent reinforcement's the most powerful addiction mechanism known. So instead, they alternate. Your nervous system becomes addicted to the unpredictability. You stay hypervigilant, chasing the version of them that felt safe. It is a biological addiction to the source of your pain. Gaslighting and brain change. It's perspecticide, destruction of your reality. Over time, chronic emotional abuse physically alters the brain. The hippocampus memory shrinks. You become anxious, foggy, and unable to think clearly enough to leave. This is not weakness. You may secretly think society glorifies these traits, calling them confidence, dominance, success. But here's the truth. They must chase higher stimulation just to feel anything. They cannot access peace. They cannot experience oxytocin-based connection. They know the words but not the music. You've been trying to solve this with warmth. But you cannot fix a hardware problem with software. You want connection. Stop looking at them with anger. Anger is still attachment. When Tetrad. See narcissistic injury. When they smile, while hurting you see dopamine. You were targeted because you carry something they lack.